My name is Lucy Vincent. I'm the Chief Executive of Food Behind Bars and I'm from London. I came across a report that was released in 2016 by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Prisons, and it was called Life in Prison Food. And the report was different to most prison inspection reports in the sense that it wasn't inspecting a prison, it was inspecting a topic, food, across countless prisons all around the country. So it was focusing on the subject of food, but it was saying, okay, how is food served? How, what impact does food have on prisoners' lives? And the report was kind of, was based on that. The overriding conclusion of the report was that the food in prison was poor quality on the whole, and that was having a really poor impact on lots of issues: mental health, behaviour, violence, overall reoffending, rehabilitation. When I was reading the report, I'd never been into a prison before, I'd never met anyone who had been into prison, but for some reason I could really place myself in their shoes and think, okay, you're eating this meal, it's a sandwich, you're eating it in your cell next to your toilet on your own, how must that make you feel? A few years ago, around the time this report was released, they changed the way that food budgets operated. So in the past, it was a number basically set by the government for all prisons in the UK. And these days, basically, the governors of each prison have the autonomy to set their own food budgets. So they all end up kind of being around a certain amount, and the original amount was kind of £2, 2p. However, the reality is it differs hugely from prison to prison. There are prisons who are spending £2.10. There might be prisons where governors really value food in prison and they have a really positive food culture. So they might top up that budget, by a few p or 10p or 20p. So they might have a bit more to work with. That can work in the opposite way as well. Perhaps you don't have a governor who values it that much. Perhaps the budgets for that prison are just hugely squeezed, as most budgets are, and they've got to take it away from food to give it elsewhere. So it can go kind of under that. So the reality is they vary hugely. I guess from my experience, the number that we kind of go by is about £2.10, which is kind of your average food spend per head per day, and that's for 3 meals. Yeah. For years and years and years before we became a charity, I think I was really just researching the subject, and I was campaigning for an improvement in prison food, but part of that was actually learning about it and visiting prisons and speaking to prisoners and working in prison kitchens and speaking to nutritionists, speaking to experts, speaking to people around the globe who've kind of engaged in this issue and building this picture of what actually is it about prison food that, is important and why it affects people. And I guess there's a nutritional and a scientific side to it, which is that prison food is often lacking in vital minerals and nutrients. It's often carb heavy. And as we know, that can have a really poor impact on your physical health. Whether that means that you become deficient in things, whether that means that you put on weight, whether that means that you lose weight. They're all things that I have kind of witnessed in prison. So there's that side of it. But then there's also this real kind of emotional, mental well-being side of it. And if I'm honest, it's that side that I have seen have more of an impact on people. There was actually a really interesting study into prison food. It was one of the only kind of major academic studies into prison food, and it took place, I think, about 25 years ago now. And the study basically, they focused on a group of prisoners, and they gave half of them nutritional supplements for a few months, and the other half got kind of placebo pills, basically. So they're still eating the same food, but some of them are receiving extra vitamins and minerals through nutritional supplements. And of the half who took the nutritional supplements, I think there was a 37% decrease in violent behaviour and offending of that group, and the other group, it remained completely unchanged. And that was referenced in the report originally, and I've referenced that 1,000 times over the years, because that proves that poor quality prison food actually impacts the way that your brain works, and your cognitive function and behaviour and violence and all of those things that can play a huge part in prison life, and can really impact people in prison. So I guess that's really interesting side of it. I suppose, breakfast is a really good example of something, a specific meal that has a very specific effect on people. So breakfast in prison is a breakfast pack, and that typically consists of like a small kind of sachet of cereal, some milk, a couple of slices of white bread, like a spread of some sort, and then tea and coffee. And you get given your breakfast pack with the evening meal, and that's to do with kind of staffing and things like that. So they get that with their evening meal. The evening meal is served at 4:30, on the most part. So you get your breakfast pack with dinner at 4:30. You have a very long night before you're unlocked the next day at kind of 8:15, and sadly most of the time people will eat their breakfast pack during the night, understandably. I've met very few prisoners who will save that breakfast pack till the morning. And so most of the time that means that people are going to work or education or starting the day, without having had, a kind of solid breakfast. And that really impacts people. You only have to look at school dinners and people turning up to school, if they've had sweets or crisps in the morning instead of a proper breakfast, and how that impacts their behaviour, and mood as well. It doesn't put you in the best mood for the day. I think people think that prisoners live in the lap of luxury with Xboxes, and luxurious surroundings. That is not true. For the most part, they are existing in a very small cell. Their toilet is in their cell. They have communal showers, which they might not even be able to have every single day. People think that prisoners all sit around a table and eat their meals together in the evening. And that's not true. They collect their meal from the servery, they eat it in their cell. Lunch is served at 11:30, dinner is served at 4:30. It's not how we eat in normal life. My name is Lucy Vincent, and this is my voice.